I don't know how to demonstrate this, and who can we use to assist us with the demonstration of these measurements. Can we use the interpreter, my lord? Mr. Jonas, just to take the measurement from the floor to 1.3 and to 1.6, that's all.
Oh, you may not use a court official, use any other person.
Just for completeness. Yeah. Sorry, before I proceed, did you take the measurement of the deceased body?
On the deceased body?
Yes.
Meaning the height of the deceased?
The height of the deceased.
Mr. Mngomezulu, what do you want to demonstrate?
The height of the deceased was 1.77.
My lord, actually I consulted with our ballistic expert.
Yeah, what does he say?
Now, my lord, may I just address the court? He says, according to him, I even indicated to my colleague.
According to?
I have even indicated to my colleague, Advocate Baloyi, that he does not dispute the trajectory. The measurements are consistent with his findings. So I was of the idea that we can just ask for the sake of completeness, but I can withdraw that question as well.
No, you don't have to withdraw anything. I just want to understand, what do you want to demonstrate?
Yes, I want to check if that 1.34 was the exact measurement from the floor to the entrance wound.
How do you demonstrate that? Because if you're going to get a person with what's the
1.7?
The height of the deceased?
The height of the deceased was 1.77.
Yeah, get a person with that height. I don't know where you're going to get him. And then you can say he must demonstrate how he located the wound on the chest and the exit wound at the back. Fine.
Yeah, there's something that I wanted to demonstrate actually, my lord. I'll try to see how can I secure somebody with the height of 1.7. Is it 1.77?
1.77.
Yes. It will be difficult to get the person now.
Actually, your laser, ask him. The laser is more accurate. It will actually foretell what you can't prove. Because he'll put it on where it says 1.77 and beam the light. Now you want to do it with Brugger's measurement.
Now we can use both, my lord. We can use the laser just to give a guideline. May I request the witness to use the laser at the moment?
Yeah, if you want him to use the laser, fine.
Because it's difficult to get the person with such a height.
But for my edification, what is this exercise in aid of? Because the evidence is clear. The deceased sensor was shot from the front.
Yes.
And this is his evidence. The alleged shooter was a bit taller than Sonzo. And the trajectory of the fire or the bullet went downwards. Is that not what you said, sir?
My lord, the entrance wound is a contact shot in the chest.
It's
higher than the exit wound at the back.
That's the point. So the trajectory is
it's a downward trajectory.
But my concern is that the deceased was not standing upright. He was slightly bending forward. Do you agree with me, according to your observation?
My lord, it's difficult to say that he was bending a little bit front or to the front or was standing up straight. Because if you look at the trajectory, if he's standing up straight, the entrance is just a little bit higher than that. The minute he bends down, it changes the trajectory completely, because then the body bends to the front. Your trajectory can be a little bit straight.
Yeah.
And if it's a little bit straight, it doesn't fit to the trajectory or the bullet damage on the door, because the damage on the door, it will not be at the same level as your entrance and exit wound. So what I could say is most likely was standing up straight, where it enters at the front at the 1.36 and 1.26 at the back, 1.34 at the front, 1.26 at the back, and the door is 1.2. So it's a downward trajectory, and between the deceased and the door, there's a space, there's an opening. So on that opening, it allows the bullet to travel a little bit down with about 6 centimeters, if you compare. Because if it was against if this bag was against the door, the trajectory that doesn't fit. So he has to move a little bit to the front to create the space where the bullet can get the grace of losing about 6 centimeters to hit the door.
So, when I was listening to your evidence in chief, you cannot rule a possibility that there was a struggle over there between the deceased and the shooter. Can you rule the possibility that there was a struggle?
My lord, since the deceased was shot in a contact shot, it's a loose contact shot. So in a loose contact shot, you cannot rule out the possibility that the deceased could have been, deceased hands could have been on the firearm, or there could have been a struggle between the deceased and the shooter.
Yeah, the probabilities could be two in relation to what I'm going to tell you. If there was a struggle, between the deceased and the shooter, especially on the damage on the floor, and you said it was approximately 90 degrees.
That's correct, my lord.
Yes. So the probability could be, if there was a struggle, the firearm could have been facing down. As a result, a 90-degree shot was fired. Can we rule?
In that instance, where the shot is at 90 degrees to the ground,
yes,
the firearm will be facing downwards. There's no other direction that it will face. It will be facing downwards. So to say that the distance between the ground and the firearm cannot be determined, but it was definitely facing downwards.
The second possibility, that the probability that I want to put in a form of your evidence could be that if there was a struggle between the deceased and the shooter was on the level of a shoulder, a 90 degrees also could be a possibility to strike on the ground, on a level of a shoulder. If they were standing upright, maybe they were fighting for or whatever way they were fighting for, but on a level of a shoulder, and a firearm is facing downwards, could that possibility exist, that at that 90 degrees was shot on that level?
My lord, I cannot comment on the position of the firearm, whether it was at shoulder level. If it's at shoulder level, to turn it at 90 degrees, it's difficult. But if the hand is down on this, facing down, this is the most likely it could have been the position. But at this end, and then you shoot down at 90 degrees, it's difficult. It's almost impossible to do that.
Then you proceeded to accused number 3, where he was, I think he was Johannesburg Correctional Services.
Accused number 3 was at Johannesburg Correctional Services.
Yes. You did the same exercise with Brigadier Gininda.
That's correct, ma'am.
Was he present? Was Brigadier Gininda present?
Brigadier Gininda was present. My lord, I just want to rectify. I think I've confused the two incidents. At Valeria, we met first in the office, and then we went to at Pretoria North. Brigadier Gininda called me, and I met Mngomezulu and someone else. I can't remember who was there, but I can recall that Brigadier was not there.
Being a counsel, I'm sorry, Mr. Colonel Mangena. I'll just say it without even shame. I'm a counsel. I'll just tell you that in Sizulu, I'll take what you said first.
it's fine, but it's what I can recall now. What I'm saying, that I can recall that he was not there.
You had a chance for the whole hour to recall your evidence. You never said that in your evidence in chief. You never said that on the records. You never said that. You're just fabricating it now.
No,
During lunchtime now you think, no, that's not true.
My Lord,
please, my Lord, we've been through this. We've referred to the relevant portions of the record, namely page 53 of the record on the 30th of August 2023. Because my learned friend should just revisit the record.
My Lord, the witness confirmed that he was with Brigadier Gininda at Pretoria North in one of the offices at the station. I'll just leave it for argument. That is on record. Whether he's fabricating or not, I'll make it as a submission during my argument. Let's just pass.
That's not what the witness said, my Lord. He said at Valeria, not at Pretoria North.
Mr. Baloyi, we'll just rewind it if the court so pleases. Let's move to accused number 3. You also did the same exercise.
that's correct, my Lord.
But there's something that you suggested which did not come from Gininda. After you concluded all these exercises you were performing on the heights of the accused, there's something that you suggested to look for any injury on the leg. Am I correct?
That is correct, my Lord.
You are not the investigating officer in this case, correct?
I'm not the investigating officer, but if it's ballistic related, and I've asked that, I will do that.
Yeah, it's fine. You can do it at any time. But there's one thing that is strange. That suggestion came when you approached accused number 3. You did not perform that when you were doing it to accused number 1 and 2, correct?
That's correct. I did not perform that. And when I was at home looking at this thing, and at work also, I looked at this thing and I looked at the possibility. Then I said, but let me also do this and see if I can find anything from there.
All right. So this thing came after you've done that exercise from accused number 1 and number 2.
That is correct, my Lord. I did that with accused number 3 and also with accused number 4.
So were you aware of did you have the knowledge of the facts of this case? You didn't discuss the facts of this case with Brigadier Gininda.
The facts of the case on the crime scene itself.
636.
On the crime scene itself.
The facts of this case. The person who shot Senzo, when Senzo was shot, who was in the house, all things that are relevant relating to 636. We did not discuss with him. Driving from wherever, Silverton to Valeria, from Silverton to Pretoria, wherever, to Kalagabusha, to Lokop, you did not discuss this with Brigadier Gininda, the facts of the case.
My Lord, the facts of the case mean, I don't know which facts of the case are we referring to. Are we referring to what transpired inside the house, or how did I reconstruct the incident? In
so you had decided, all right, let me just put it this way. When you heard about the death of Senzo Meyiwa, it has been reported on the media that how Senzo was shot. So I'm saying to you, when you met Brigadier Gininda, did you have knowledge of the facts that transpired, either through the media or from any other person other than Brigadier Gininda?
My Lord, the facts that I had was that I did the reconstruction, and based on my findings on the reconstruction, those are all the facts that I had, where I was sure of my incident, the case.
And Captain Bentley, he did not brief you with the facts as to how this thing happened for you to process the crime scene. He did not brief you about the facts.
My Lord, I need clarity on which facts, because I don't know.
As to how Senzo was shot.
How Senzo was shot, that's how I could determine. That's how
How
I
Senzo was shot. I just want to know. If you were not briefed, it's fine. We'll move on. If you were not briefed, I can just leave it for argument because you are a South African citizen, you reside around, you work around Pretoria. So let's just leave it for argument. Let's move on. You went to, my concern is that when you approach accused number 3, the suggestion came from you with an attempt to assist Brigadier Gininda to find an alternative way of getting the suspect. That's when you suggested that you should look at a person who was injured. When it's your evidence that when he took out his shoe, then he told you that he was injured when he was playing football.
That is correct, my lord. That's what he told me.
I'll leave that for Mr. Mnisi to advance on it, but did he consent, did he voluntarily say that to you?
That's correct. He voluntarily said it. The only thing that I have requested from you is that can you take off your shoes and your socks? I just want to check something on your legs.
Yes.
And that's when he said no. The scars that you can see on my leg are from my childhood when I was playing soccer out there.
So what was your response after he did that? What did you do after that? Or what did you say after he has taken out those?
My lord, I didn't say anything. I continued to check, but I couldn't see any scars on the legs.
But I'm going back to the same question, to the same evidence that you said, if a person was closer to the person who shot on the ground, could be injured, there was a possibility that even the person who was holding a firearm could have been injured by those, you said fragmented and cause damage to the next person. Was it possible that even the shooter could be injured?
That's correct, my lord. That possibility cannot be ruled out.
And after you have checked accused number 3 and you concluded that there were no injuries?
My lord, not necessarily that there were no injuries.
Yes.
I could not see any scars because the fragments would be very small. They could have created very small scars. And if you look at the time when we conducted the test and the time of the incident, it's how many years passed. So the possibility that there could have been injuries and the wounds were healed and the scars were, because they were very small, I couldn't see them.
Based on what you are just saying now, the suggestion that you made to Brigadier Gininda, that means it was fruitless. It was fruitless because it didn't produce any results.
Not necessarily fruitless. If I could have seen something.
But you didn't find anything.
But because I didn't find anything.
That's correct.
It's the same as taking all the measurements. I took all the measurements to try and determine something, but I couldn't determine anything from that. So it's not fruitless. If anything could have transpired there, I would have said something about it. I would have said, this is what I could determine, this is the possibility or the likelihood.
Let's move to accused number 5. You went to where he was kept and you said he refused to be checked. That's what you said?
That's correct, my lord.
Number 4, you went to Lokop prison. Then you proceeded with the same exercise to accuse number 4.
That is correct, my lord.
No scars, nothing, no traces of any injuries?
I couldn't see anything also.
All right. I just want to understand. But I'll get to it as I'm getting with your evidence. Because you said it's part of your job description to go with the investigating officer to perform such exercises that you have done. It's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. With a ballistic expert going with the investigating officer to make such a follow-up information on the heights of the accused and...
My lord, for us to go out to a crime scene, do reconstruction, we receive requests from the investigating officer, and I cannot do that examination without the presence of the investigating officer. He must be there when I conduct it. If he asks me, call me and ask me to assist with something, I would go and check. If it's possible for me to assist him, I will assist. And if it's not possible, I'll also tell him that it's not possible to get that.
Thina ukuze ukuthi ke siye endaweni ke siyokwenza ke nosebenza ke uthola ucingo kuyena ke ophenya icala ube uyena ke uma kuukuthi ke yinto engayenza leyo kuzomtshela uma kuukuthi ke yinto engenzeki ke leyo nalapho ke futhi ngizomtshela.
All right, no, it's fine. Let's now get into the date Brigadier Gininda called you, or if he called you or you talk with him regarding the suspect who was sentenced for a firearm. Can you relate on that?
The suspect was...
Sorry, let me just rephrase it. What actually led you to go to, what is that? Cleveland. What led you to go to Cleveland?
Cleveland?
Station? Yes.
My lord, after we went to accused number 3 at Johannesburg prison, Brigadier Gininda informed me that he had information that accused number 3 is the main suspect in this case, and he wanted me to check if the firearm that he was arrested with in Cleveland, can we check the firearm and compare it with the bullets?
Okay. Did you go to Cleveland alone, or you were in company of Brigadier Gininda?
When I went to Cleveland, I went alone.
So you had the description of the firearm that you were looking for?
My lord, what transpired here is, after telling me that he was giving me the case number of Cleveland, I went to our system and checked with the Cleveland. I could see the lab number on the case number. And I got the case file of that Cleveland case.
Okay, proceed.
And after getting the case file of Cleveland, I compared the bullets which were fired in the firearm on the Cleveland case by a warrant officer, rule officer. And when I compared the bullet from the crime scene, the Vosloorus crime scene, with the test on the Cleveland case, I could see some similarities, but because of the type of bullets which were in the Cleveland case, the bullets in the Cleveland case were the full metal jacket. And the bullet on the Vosloorus case was the CMJ, the complete metal jacket. And the two are the same caliber, but two different materials of the bullet. Then I started to compare them, but I could see some class characteristics and some similarities that's when I decided that I need a firearm so that I can shoot the correct test in this firearm.
So what you're telling the court just now, is it in your affidavit?
It's in my affidavit.
Yes, is it in your 212 statement?
My lord, I don't put everything in my 212 statement.
Is it in your diary?
What I'm saying now. I did the test. I've mentioned in my report before I could go and get the firearm. I have mentioned that. Compare the tests in the Cleveland case with this. I could see some similarities, but I needed to shoot additional tests with the correct ammunition.
All right. Before you left your office to Cleveland, was it the correct procedure for you to follow if that firearm was not brought into you by the case administration?
Malo, that's the correct procedure also. When firearms are collected from the crime scene, or maybe from the suspect or something, they are sealed by the investigating officer, they are sent, or by LCRC, they are sent to the lab to be registered. But in this instance, it's a different instance. This firearm was not with the owner or was not collected from the crime scene. It was at the lab. And after the case was finalized on the Cleveland case, it was sent back to the station. Now, if I want to shoot the test, additional test in this firearm, what I could do is, I've checked the type of firearm, checked what type of firearm is it, where the firearm is, and I went to the station to check if the firearm is still there. The procedure that we have on collecting the firearm, sealing the firearm, is when it's sent by the IO or by LCRC. In this instance, booking out a firearm at the SAP 13, what procedure do we follow? It's the normal procedure that every police officer can follow.
All right.
If this firearm was with the owner or was with the company, I wouldn't go and collect it from the owner or the company. I would request the investigating officer to go collect it and then send it to us. But because it's at the station, the procedure there at the police station is a police officer can go book it out at the SAP 13 to conduct the test. That's what the procedure that I did.
Did you have any indemnity form or any form authorizing you to possess that firearm?
Any form to possess the firearm, meaning what?
Let me just put it straight so that you'll understand. When you left your office, driving to Cleveland to fetch the firearm, what document that authorized you to go and fetch that firearm?
Well, I had the case number and I was busy working on that case. LCRC members don't have the indemnity when they collect exhibits from the crime scene to send them to the lab. The detective who collects the firearm from the owner or from wherever doesn't have that indemnity form that is going to collect the firearm and bring it to the lab. That's the procedure that I followed.
But you're not the investigating officer.
But I'm a police officer.
Say, let me just put it straight. You are driving from Cleveland in possession of the firearm. You are stopped at the roadblock. How would you explain that?
I'm a police officer and I'm working on that case.
Are you aware of the indemnity form?
I don't know of any indemnity form.
Any letter written by the station commander or the commander giving you authority to possess that firearm? Are you not aware of that authority?
To possess which firearm? Exhibit firearm.
That exhibit, yes. Because you are not an investigating officer.
But I'm a police officer and I'm working on that case. Not only the investigating officer can carry the firearm that is in this case. We have cases where the investigating officer will send anybody, or any police officer from his office to bring the exhibits to the lab where we examine those firearms. Do they have the indemnity that they are in possession of a firearm that belongs to a case that they are not working on?
All right. According to you, there's nothing that prevented you from telling Brigadier Gininda to bring that firearm for testing at case administrators, and there's nothing that actually influenced you to go and take that firearm without the knowledge of, sorry, let me just put it this way, there's nothing that prevented you from informing Brigadier Gininda that you, on that particular day, you are going to fetch that firearm. There's nothing prevented you.
My lord, I informed him before I go there. He knew that I was going to fetch the firearm there.
So now let's get into we'll leave that for argument, because I can put it to you now that you were not authorized to possess the firearm. If you were stopped at the roadblock, you were going to be arrested for being in possession of an unlicensed firearm.
My lord, I don't believe in that.
That's true what you're saying, because you police now these days are doing as you please. You just carry firearms anyhow. Like now.
That's a good case, my lord. I think that's an unfair, sweeping statement to make.
Let me just justify what I was saying to you. For the first day, when the court asked our ballistic expert, you were standing with Brigadier Gininda there, next to each other.
That's correct, my lord.
And Dave was standing next to you.
That's correct, my lord.
The court asked, where is that firearm? Do you remember what Gininda said, Brigadier Gininda said? Can you recall?
I can't recall that.
He said that firearm is not there. He didn't bring the firearm. And then you grabbed him and said, no, there is a firearm.
My lord, I think if I can recall, I can't recall exactly the words of Brigadier, but it was because of where the firearm is. I said, no, I have the firearm with me.
No. Before you answered, say, Brigadier Gininda is the one who gave an answer first.
Yes, but yes. I told him that I have the firearm with me.
Then you pay his attention and say, no, you've got the firearm. The investigating officer is not aware that you're in possession of a firearm. The court is asking the investigating officer. So, by law, are you telling me or are you telling this court that you have the authority to keep the exhibits of the court?
My lord, there is a statement that Brigadier Gininda submitted that for safety reasons, I must keep the firearm with me because I've got a safe at the office. You can't leave it at the station. Anything can happen.
So that firearm was not found from the safe where you collected it from Cleveland.
At
Was it
Cleveland-
not in a safe?
At Cleveland,
Yes.
it was in a safe.
Yes. What prevented you from taking it back to Cleveland?
My lord, I took it back to Cleveland and Brigadier Gininda booked it out at Cleveland. He said he's afraid, feel that it's not safe there, then I must keep it. He even submitted a statement and I wrote that I must keep the firearm. Ever since he booked it out at Cleveland, the firearm was with me. It was in my exhibit safe. And on that day that we were here with Dave, I brought the firearm. He was not aware that I brought the firearm to court.
All right, thanks. Let's get now to the full metal jacket and the complete metal jacket. When Rudolph was conducting you said he conducted the test on a full market,
On a
full metal
jacket, yes.
So, what does that mean? If you conducted the test on a CMJ, if he conducted the test on a FMJ, you conducted the test on the CMJ. What did that mean, or what does that mean?
My lord, when we do examination at the lab, when you examine the bullet, maybe compare the bullets from the crime scene with the firearm, or you compare the cartridge cases with the firearm. What we do is we will receive the firearm, we examine the firearm. When we shoot the tests to be compared with the exhibits from the crime scene, we look at the type of exhibits that we have received. If your cartridge cases, let's say for argument's sake, is PMP, I'll shoot the PMP cartridge cases for comparison. But if our cartridge cases from the scene are something like cellular and belloc, we'll also shoot the same type of cartridge, because the material of these cartridges are not the same, and some of them are hard to. When we shoot a test, you might struggle to find the same, exactly the same type of marks on it. So when using the same type of exhibit, we're expecting to find more or less, or very close, or similar, exactly similar type of marks on it. Right. In case of bullets, we do the same thing. If I receive the hollow point, I'll try and shoot the hollow point. If I don't have the same type of hole, I'll shoot something that will be very close to that. In instances where I receive the CMJ bullets, I'll also shoot the CMJ bullets.
For my client to understand it as well, the exhibit that were brought to you, were they the CMJs or the FMJs?
My lord, the exhibit bullet from the crime scene were the CMJ,
Correct.
not FMJ.
You know why Colonel Rudolph used the FMJ in the examination?
Warrant Officer Rudolph, when he was examining that, he was doing his case, the Cleveland case. And in the Cleveland case, I don't know if there's any CMJs, because the test that he shot, I'm not sure if it's a PMP. I think it was PMP with the FMJ, not the CMJs.
But you were examining the exhibits which are likely to be those that were examined by Rudolph.
Rudolph did the comparison of exhibit cartridge cases from the other crime, the Cleveland Alexander case.
Yes.
And what he did, what happened in this Cleveland case, it was a possession of unlicensed firearm. In cases of where we receive firearms like possession of unlicensed firearm, normally we shoot the PMP ammunition, and you can acquire that on the IB system. But if you look at the case that I was doing, the first Laura's case, it's the one bullet of CMJ. So it's two tests of FMJ on Cleveland case, and in this case it's one bullet of CMJ.
May I approach case number 3?
Yes, yes.
May I also?
Yeah, boy. We don't want to go there too.
I see no reason why.
Yeah? Okay. All right. And Mr. Ramsipidi, you also see no reason why you should go.
To consult. I have fully consulted my lord.
Oh, I see. Good. Yeah.
Thank you, my lord, for your indulgence.
Yeah.
We were still on the examination by rule of say. Okay. You conducted the examination on this with the CMJ, using the CMJs, and the exhibit with the CMJs. So, okay, what was your finding in terms of your microscopic analysis? Did you find anything matching between the exhibits and...
Which test? My test or
Yes, your
warrant
test.
officer rule officer's test?
Yes,
My test or warrant officer rule officer's test?
your test, sir.
With my test, my lord, I went to fetch the firearm. I came back with the firearm. I shot additional tests in that same firearm, and I started to compare them with the exhibit bullet.
How many bullets were in those exhibits? The live rounds.
Meaning the cartridges, the live
Yes,
rounds.
yes.
In which, in a box.
In a box that you found from Cleveland.
I can't recall how many were they.
How many did you test? How many shots, how many bullets did you use to fire
I
the
used
shots?
2 from the box, and the others I took from my office.
Sorry, is it the blue box or the box?
In the blue box, man.
Yeah, at least terms.
Okay. Now, let me get into this evidence. This is the version I'm going to put to you, and this is what is also contained in statements that were made under oath. There's a statement that was made by Longwe Twala, who was in the crime scene before Senzo was shot. According to his statement, he says the intruder was in possession of a 38 special revolver. And the tests that we're doing were on the 9mm. And there's a difference between the two firearms, correct?
That's correct, my lord.
So before I get into the size of the bullet, the 38 does not have a cartridge. Does not have a cartridge case.
My lord, it does have a cartridge case.
What is it that it drops down if you fire the shot? What is it?
It's a cartridge case.
So even the 38 special, it does have the cartridge case.
That's correct, my lord. It does have the cartridge case.
But it doesn't release it to the ground.
My lord, the difference is with a revolver, your cartridges or your live rounds fit into the cylinder,
Yeah.
the revolving cylinder, and you close the cylinder. When you pull the trigger, the cylinder rotates.
Yes.
Put the one aligned with the barrel. You fire a shot. When you pull it again, it rotates, brings the other one. So it does not eject cartridge cases on the crime scene. You
Yes.
have a pistol. With a pistol, every shot you fire, it ejects cartridge cases on your scene.
Yes. All right. So in this case, let me just put firstly, the people who made statements to the investigating officers that the intruders were in possession of a 38 special. I said, Longwe said that. Number 2, Kelly Kumalo, in her statement, in front of Colonel Steenkamp, if I'm not mistaken, she made a statement to the effect that the intruders were that intruder was in possession of an old 38 special revolver. If she can be called, maybe she can clarify that aspect. But she said...
Sorry, I thought you were calling her.
I'll call her, my lord.
Yeah, no, that's what you said.
No, definitely I'll call her.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
No, it's because now I thought you, if she was called.
She said it's a 38 special, an old 38 special. The third person The third person was that guy from Devon, Tumelo Madlala. He actually gave a description of a firearm to the officer who attended the crime scene. I think it's Constable Mteto, if I'm not mistaken. And he described the firearm that it had that, what do you call it, that thing that rotates, that
Cylinder.
wheel. You call it what?
Cylinder.
A cylinder.
Flying wheel, they call it.
A flying wheel.
That's township lingo.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said it's got that flying wheel. And the officer who was taking the statement said, no, that is that type of a firearm. It's a 38 special. The fourth person who made a statement is the investigating officer, Brigadier Gininda, on A227, when he brought an application for the warrants of arrest, where he mentioned the 38 special. 4 people mentioned 38 special. Tumelo Madlala described the firearm to the officer, Mr. Mteto, and said it's a firearm that has a cylinder. What is it? Yeah, a flywheel. Mr.
We don't want to describe or interrupt my learned friend's cross-examination, but the witnesses have testified. There's a court record wherein they qualified their answers. Now, a very broad and general statement is being put to the witness when the witness who testified have qualified their statements, explained what they meant. It would help if my learned friend was to perhaps refer to the relevant record, quote exactly what the witnesses said, instead of we admire his memory, but it's important that he should quote the relevant portions of the record and state exactly what the witnesses said in order for this witness to answer to such questions.
Yes, Mr. Mngomezulu.
I was relying on, I can quote the relevant portion
You're
of
relying
the
on?
records. I was relying on the statements made by these witnesses I'm talking about.
Yeah, but now this gentleman, Mr. Balui, says they actually testified in this court and qualified their answers, meaning the statement, fine, but they qualified their answers here. I take it under cross-examination and re-examination.
The qualification was only made, I think, by Tumelo Madlala, not by the rest of the witnesses I'm talking about, because it's the only one that was confronted with the statement. I'm putting all the statements that were made by...
No, I'm not. I'm just saying what he says.
Yes.
That is
There's only
Balui.
one person that was who qualified his evidence. Being an expert on forensic ballistic, you gave the distinction between a pistol and a revolver. I've put, oh sorry, we're still interpreting, Mr. Before Mr. Baloi interjected. All right, I said, Tumelo Madlala, he gave the description in his statement that this firearm that was in possession of the intruder had a flywheel. And the officer said it's a 38 special. Mr. Jonas?
My Lord, I think my answer is going to be a bit long because I want to explain something.
Yeah,
My Lord, when we look at our crime scene
yeah.
or an incident, where does the incident start and where does the incident stop? How long does it take? Right. When we do incident reconstruction or crime scene reconstruction, my Lord, you divide it into a sequence of events. Right. Your incidents may start when the perpetrators or the suspects enter the house. So they entered the house. The witnesses saw a revolver. After seeing the revolver, there was a struggle between the perpetrators and the witnesses. For the mere fact that they saw a revolver when they entered does not automatically say this is the firearm that was used. My lord, I can say to the court I've got a BMW keys in my pocket. That does not necessarily mean when I leave this court I'll be driving a BMW. I might be driving another vehicle. So when we do crime scene reconstruction, we look at the physical evidence that is at the crime scene. The bullet recovered in that crime scene or on that crime scene, it's a 9mm bullet. It's not a 3/8 special bullet. So if they saw a revolver when they entered, it does not necessarily mean that was the only firearm that the suspect came with. So the possibility of another firearm that was used cannot be ruled out, since the bullet found, it's a 9mm bullet, not a 3/8 special.
Sir, with due respect, this is not a court of speculations.
My lord, I'm not speculating. I'll be speculating if I say the bullet, the revolver was used, but we find a 9mm bullet at the crime scene.
Sir, with due respect, Colonel, the evidence before this court that the first person who entered the house was in possession of a 38 special. The second person who entered the house was in possession of a sharp object, if I'm not mistaken, not a firearm.
The witness is already answered. My learned friend asked exactly the witness to comment on the evidence he's commented. He said the fact that the witnesses might have seen a .38 special doesn't mean that that was the only firearm that they could have been armed with.
That kind of evidence that kind of question must be allowed, because if there are witnesses that came to testify in this court, their evidence cannot be changed by a speculation or by any kind of a possibility that might have occurred. You're talking out of your experience. You're not talking about what happened on that day.
No, wait. As I'm listening, and this evidence is he did not find a .38, as you call it, bullet in the house of Miss Kelly Kumalo.
Correct.
He found a 9mm bullet or projectile in the house. So there was no 38, according to you.
There was no evidence.
Or
there was no
or
evidence of a .38 special at the crime scene.
I'll give so many possibilities as you invite more possibilities in this court. Because I even told you that there were senior officers that attended the crime scene. I'll tell you that. I'll give a possibility that when there was contamination of the scene, there was a reason to frame wrong people.
My lord, as I said, my findings or my statements in the reconstruction of the crime scene are based on physical evidence that I got from the crime scene. Whether there were people on the scene, those people will not change my findings. My findings will still remain the same. Whether there was movement or there was contamination of the crime scene, but my findings will remain the same.
I agree with you. If you are giving the wrong exhibits, you'll do examination and give results according to what you are giving. But the concern that I'm raising is that witnesses, including the investigating officer, brought an application under Section 43 and mentioned a 38 special that was used.
My lord, if we're saying I was given the wrong exhibits, if we look at the bullet fragment that was found in the crime scene, it's exactly consistent with the damage that is on the floor. And the shot was fired when those people were still inside, when there was the struggle or argument inside the kitchen. So it's consistent with it. Who will ever bring an exhibit that will fit exactly on your crime scene? It's not possible to do that. The second bullet, because it went through the deceased, it went through the deceased body, it lost a lot of speed, it lost a lot of energy. when it exited the back, it was tumbling. If you look at the damage on the door, it shows that the bullet was unstable. It hits on the side, and because of the less speed that it had, it ended up where it was found. It was still intact, it was still in shape. There was only a minor dent on that bullet, which shows that on impact on the door or on the wall somewhere, it has already lost a lot of energy on speed. So it was consistent with the trajectory also on this one. So both exhibits are consistent with the crime scene, how I found the crime scene.
All right. Tell me, were there any cartridge cases that were found at the crime scene?
My lord, there were no cartridge cases found in the crime scene.
If a firearm, if a pistol was used, there was a possibility of the cartridge cases discharged from the firearm.
That's correct, my lord. There was that possibility, but not there must be cartridge cases found. The possibility is there. And if you look at, as I said, if you look at the shot that when the deceased was shot, or was the shot that killed the deceased, as I said, the possibility of a struggle over the firearm cannot be ruled out. In that instance, what could have transpired? If somebody is putting a gun, trying to pull, and you hold a gun on the slide, a shot is fired, you disturbing the cycling of the firearm. The possibility that this firearm is not going to eject firearm cannot be ruled out. So there's a possibility that the shot was fired, but the cartridge case was not ejected.
What's your time there, Mr.?
21 minutes past 3.
21 minutes past 3. Okay. You're available tomorrow, I take it.
That's correct, my lord.
Sorry, my lord, are we adjourning?
No, if you want to continue up to 5:30. I don't know, even 4 o'clock.
No, we can adjourn. my
I'm
lord,
available.
if the court so pleases.
Now, if you want to continue, wrap up your argument about the
I'm not
senior
closer
police.
I'm not closer to rep.
No. I'm sure.
No, I'm not closer.
I was very interested in that argument.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or may I proceed until I've
Because I'll tell you why. Because you're talking about cartridges, as if we're all talking at different connotations. Am I correct, sir? About cartridges
That's correct, my lord.
and about CMJ
And FMJ.
and FMG. 3 different projectiles.
That's correct.
Must be. And the other interesting aspect is when it is put to you that it was a .38, and I'm not saying you are wrong. It's just in my mind is tumbling. After hearing that a .38, I mean a cylinder
Cylinder is rotating.
doesn't eject.
Doesn't eject, my lord, yes.
So, but there were bullets found at that house. You've heard me. Can we come back tomorrow?